All right, coming up, I'll be talking about Georgia's new defensive back hire in Charlton Warren, and if this changed the scope of the SEC as we know it. And it may not be the way you think I'm talking about it, too. Find out right now.
What more can I say?
Top billing.
What did the outside guy a bunch do?
Outside bunch went under.
So he went under, right? KJ's got the widest guy. You got the next inside threat. Balance. Pop, let's go. Good. Good, JK. Track. Run your hips. Here we go. Sink your butt. Run your feet. Patrice, that's 2 pillows hitting. I want contact at the end. That's 2 pillows hitting. I want contact.
That's 2 pillows hitting. I want contact.
Top billing to ya. Man, my man Charlton Warren is going to have to get that contact now out of guys like J.R. Reed, Tyson Campbell, Richard LeCount, especially Richard LeCount, cats like Devod Wilson and Otis Reese, Eric Stokes, the man himself, because that man has been swiped from the University of Florida to be the Dogs' new defensive backs coach. And man, it's crazy. It's funny how the world turns. I swear, this is no joke. I've seen Charlton Warren out when you have different coaching friends and trainer friends and stuff like that. You get to see a lot of these coaches, especially when you're in the media as well and you go to some of these high school games. I've seen Charlton Warren in like every year, and every year he's with a new team. I remember this cat was at Nebraska. Then I think he went to North Carolina. Then he was at Tennessee for a year. Then he was just at what most people consider defensive back university in Florida. Boom. Now he's stolen real quick, coming back home to Atlanta, Georgia, where he's from, to coach them Dogs. Now understand this. This is a poaching of massive proportions just for the simple fact that this is a lateral move. And in some circles, man, I don't know, if you ask some NFL execs, they may say it's not even a lateral move. It may be a little bit of a step down because of the reputation that Florida defensive backs coach get. But we know that to not be the case. It's a lateral move. So you would think by swiping a guy like this, and it's just like I said, that's why you got to get the patreon.com/committed to the G to see the haps and what's going on over there. I had a feeling that Coach Smart was not looking for a defensive coordinator. He was looking just for a defensive backs coach to replace outgoing DC, now the head coach at Colorado, Mel Tucker, who was also the defensive backs coach. What that leads me to believe is, well, before I get to that, man, Charlton Warren is very known in the South, in this region, for being a very, very detailed, stickler for detail type coach. He would get the most out of his defensive backs. But we already know that. It's University of Georgia, and Kirby Smart's there. And Kirby Smart himself is one of the premier defensive backs coach and learned at the great Nick Saban's feet as well. As far as the recruiting goes, Charlton Warren has actually done a pretty good job, man. You could say he got your man Chris Steele from California, and now he's moving a couple of weeks after that. So I don't know. I feel a certain way about that. You know what I mean? That's just that's just how I am. But he's been a pretty good recruiter. He got Trey Dean, my guy Trey Dean out of Dutchtown. And you saw how those guys played last year at the University of Florida. Some very good defensive backs and a very good defensive back coach. But the reason why I believe this changes the landscape is because if you're going to promote from within, which this signifies to me, that you would promote Glenn Schumann like I originally thought, and maybe a Dan Lanning, the outside linebacker. So the inside linebacker and outside linebackers coach could be the co-defensive coordinators. Why not why not call your own defense if you're Coach Smart? We already saw what giving some green guys defensive play calling duties at Alabama, what happened to that when it ultimately mattered, and Tosh Lupoy and guys like that. There's nobody out there more qualified to coach or to be a defensive coordinator or a defensive play caller than Kirby Smart. Only people out there I think on his level is Jeremy Pruitt, and I think like a Mark Stoops, some of those guys like that are head coaches. Maybe a couple of other guys around, but some of those guys are still defensive coordinators like Aranda and those guys. But as far as head coaches, I think Pruitt calls his own defense. I'm pretty sure Mark Stoops has done it before. This is a pivotal year, and Coach Smart should call his own defense on the way to a national championship win. You got to do it this year if you're going to do it. While you're grooming guys like Lanning and Shubin to take over, you calling the plays, they can learn from you because both of these guys are extremely green. They also, we know that they come from the University of Alabama, just like Coach Smart as well. Very talented, very great recruiters. The entire staff is full of a whole bunch of hungry recruiters, so that's a good thing. But, man, there's no substitute for great coaching, and Kirby Smart is that dude. I actually wish he would just name himself the actual defensive coordinator and kept everybody in their own spots. But I know you have to, you know what I'm saying, if you're a CEO, you got to give some people some stuff to strive for, right? But it's time for Coach Smart to reach back into his bag and show everybody why he, at one point in time, was considered the very best defensive mind in the sport. Georgia's total defensive ranking of 13, while it looks good on the outside, to me, with that amount of talent, it should be top 5 at the very least. And, man, what I used to like about Coach Smart's defenses at Alabama was they were so stout along the line of scrimmage and the defensive rushing. Like, come on, man. 31st at the University of Georgia. They used to be number 1, like, perennially at the University of Alabama. So I'd like to see that change, and a lot of that is situational play calling. A lot of that is just overall knowledge of the game, and nobody can do that better than Coach Smart. So with that being said, let me know in the comment section what you think about Coach Smart taking over as the defensive play caller and how that could work out for the University of Georgia in this very pivotal year. But until next time, it's your boy Murf, the Underground King. You can call me King Murf. But anyway, with that being said, your boy is out. Peace.
What more can I say?
Top billing.